People binge shows all the time. Girls like ourselves devour them. Children are put to bed early by their parents, hopefully to not be seen again at night. Housewives take the grocery money and invest in stars to watch season 4 and 5. All episodes are consumed. Eventually. Welcome, Nerdy Knights, to the Well-Rounded Table to Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take those extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms. I'm that lady of that thirsty lake, Sarah O'Connor. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Colleen of Clan Macmillan is back on Scottish shores. Alas, not for long.
And bonjour, it's your favorite French lassie, Flo Siegel, no longer in Paris, but still French regardless. And welcome to our slumber party.
Woo! Jammy jams time.
Yeah, we are just relaxing, getting ready for the holidays, and cozy and comfy together yet apart and safe. So make sure that you're staying safe this holiday season too. So the BGS Ladies, through many very thirsty discussions, decided to begin a detailed dorky dive into the sexy historical world of Diana Gabaldon's Outlander, a Starz show adapted from her novels. Be warned, we will be talking heavily about mature content, as well as discussing sensitive topics such as sexual violence and rape. So make sure the Barons are out of earshot. Mine is sleeping upstairs right now. And with that, je suis prêt for a recap of episodes 8 through 13 of season 2.
We begin the second half of season 2 in Scotland, regardless of how you say the number 2, where we find Jamie compelled to support the Jacobite rebellion after the Bonnie Prince trial forges his signature on a treasonous document. This guy, I'm telling you what, am I right?
Oh, yeah.
Claire and Jamie travel to Jamie's father, Lord Lovett's castle, seeking his help for the upcoming war. There, they're reunited with Colum, who does not support another rebellion, and Leary. Leary apologizes to Claire for the pain she caused, which we do not accept, and which Claire does not accept. Later, Leary agrees to help Claire and Jamie convince Lovett to send men and weapons to fight for Prince Charles by persuading his grandson Simon, who is infatuated with Leary, to stand up to Lovett. Being a sneaky devil and playing both sides, Lovett agrees to neutrality with Colum, but also gives Jamie troops to fight in the rebellion that his grandson will lead to offer cover.
Yo, can we just talk about Leary really fast?
Of course we can talk about Leary, and we can go as slow as you want, baby girl. We can go as slow as you want.
So I rewatched this episode last night in preparation for this pod. And the second I saw Leary pop up on my screen, I wanted to kill her, first of all. And then second of all, and this is a spoiler if you have not watched later seasons, but when Jamie is like, how could you forgive her? Like, you're forgiving her, but like, I'm certainly not forgiving her. And then, bitch, you're going to go marry her? Don't even with me, homie, James Fraser. No. Also, like, Leary didn't do anything. She like showed this guy her boobs for like 1 second. Yeah. And then she's like, I did everything I could. She's useless.
I told you this wasn't about sex. And she
really did. She's like, well, I listened to his dumb poem for like a minute and then I showed him my boobs. So I'm done. Forgiven. Yay.
Yep.
At least the marriage thing is about Jamie saving people thing and not about Leary herself. Otherwise, then it'd be even more.
I guess, but still, I already preemptively do not forgive him for that which I refuse to internalize.
Yeah, for real though.
Yeah, we're just gonna be like, no.
Also, this episode, I think the biggest shock is just seeing Claire back in non-Parisian clothing.
Yes,
like,
a big shock to the system.
Yeah, you look really different.
Like, yes,
where'd
you're
your
still
boobs
stunning,
go?
but yeah, where's everything?
Yeah, but anyways, it's a good start to the second half of the season for sure.
Colleen, tell us what happens next, our love.
The troops are cotters, which are going to be like the lowest level of the Scottish clan system, so they have no training, like Angus and his buddies, just nothing. When Claire and Jamie are reunited with Murtaugh, Fergus, Angus, Rupert, and Dougal. Sup, Dougal? The training begins. This gives Claire PTSD flashbacks from her time as a nurse in World War II And Dougal once again asks Claire to marry him if Jamie does not survive.
This guy.
Dougal, such a cool guy. The kind of guy you want on your team.
Yeah,
It's so hard.
the
'Cause
kind of guy who
McTavish is
you
so
always
hot.
the kind of guy you always want in your corner, just totally there to back you up no matter what. Definitely not there to steal your wifey.
Not at all.
Never. Not even a little bit.
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Dougal is here.
Mhm. This, I loved this part on the rewatch for sure. After Claire convinces a young English scout that snuck into camp, "What's up, John William Gray?" to reveal information about the location of the British forces, Jamie and some Highlanders raid the camp and sabotage the British cannons.
Smart move.
With all of those little jangly. It's like, look,
That was
Claire, look what I
awesome.
got. Excellent.
So then Jamie's men are united with Charles, I guess they had never met him, obviously, who privately commands that the British injured get tended before the Jacobite injured. That was messed up.
Not
that's
good.
That's a tough look.
Not here for
Not
it.
good.
Not in front of the men who have shown up for you. Like,
Seriously,
don't do
it's
that.
like, okay, you can be like hush hush about it, bro. Be cool. He's super sus. What's up with that? Like, Bonnie Prince Charles does not have two brain cells to rub together. So then obviously tensions begin running high, and a Highlander arrives at camp and tells them of a secret passage that will help them take the British unawares. That guy came in clutch. Claire prepares a field hospital to tend to the wounded in battle, including the British, because like, well, A, she has to, just because she has to. And B, I mean, Bonnie.
She's Claire, so she has to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Just do no harm. She'll help
Right.
whoever she has to help.
So the first battle takes place at Preston Pans, and fog and the element of surprise help the Highlanders win. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
But it's short-lived woohoos, because sadly Angus is mortally wounded and dies of his injuries, which was really, really sad. And since Claire was right about this battle, she and Jamie worry about the known outcome of the upcoming Battle of Culloden. And there was a really interesting bit in the episode 8, the one that we just covered, where Jamie was like, well, so have you decided that we're not going to change the future anymore?
Right.
And that was such like interesting commentary from inside the show, because Claire's like, well, wouldn't you like stop trying after Paris? Like, why don't we just leave? And she's like so being the audience in that moment, because we're like, frickin' leave! Just get out!
Yeah, just go.
And then he's like, well, yeah, but like we have to try. So,
Yep.
because he's like, well, my family, you know, whatever. I get it. Like, stupid, noble Jamie, I love you. But yeah, it's not going to be good.
Speaking of the opposite of trying to try, some time passes and Charles's Scottish nobles start to doubt their own cause and their abilities to strike at the heart of London.
Mm-hmm.
They win the argument to return home for the winter, like right as they're really rocking it. So it's absolutely wild. At the camp, Claire continues to tend to the wounded. Dougal arrives with a message that Dreamy is to travel to Inverness to obtain provisions. With what money? With what money, people? With what money?
Who knows?
On their
Good looks. That's all he's got.
Okay.
On their way, the British attack and Rupert is shot in the eye. When their party is surrounded, Claire once again pretends to be a hostage so that Dougal can negotiate for their safety and their safe passage. Taken to ostensible safety with the British officers, Claire finds herself in the presence of the Duke of Sandringham yet again and his goddaughter, Mary Hawkins. The Duke says that he wants to be extracted from his British occupation when Jamie comes to rescue Claire. But when Claire meets with Danton, Sandringham's valet, she recognizes a birthmark on his hand as the man who raped Mary. Showing his duplicity, Sandringham tells Claire of his plot to lure Jamie to save Claire and turn them both over to the Redcoats. This episode is filled with a lot of this, guys.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Claire is able to get the word out, and Jamie and Murtaugh slip into the castle unknown. Mary kills Danton, and Murtaugh beheads Sandringham. Jamie, Claire, Mary, and Murtaugh leave the former Duke's estate and reunite with the army. Phew!
Yes, Mary finally growing some backbone. Get it, girl.
Mary was amazing. And honestly, when Sandringham's head flew off, I was like, this is amazing. I hate this guy so much.
Bye, bitch.
Yep.
Later.
I I legitimately had believed him when he said he wanted help getting extracted out. Like, I was honestly surprised, but not surprised when he was a turncoat and planned to turn them both in. Did that surprise either one of you, or did you see it coming?
I feel like Sandergum has never been true to his word, and he's just like always been a piece of shit. So I was just
That's
like,
fair.
can you just die? Because I cannot stand you. I mean, like,
He's always concerned.
he almost caused Jamie's death and Claire's death like 6 separate times, bro. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He
And
has
his
zero
goddaughter got
empathy.
raped, like, thanks. What the
Yeah, and to
frick?
keep the valet there, that is absolutely wild.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's POS. No. Nobody.
Yeah,
Now
good
get bad.
riddance, buddy.
When Mary, speaking of Mary, our girl, goes to reunite with Alex, she's gonna go meet her Alex Randall. She learns that Claire tried to keep them apart. So Mary confronts Claire.
Good on her
Oopsie.
for confronting
Oopsies.
Claire. Look at this backbone. Look at
Yes.
this backbone. Look
Claire's
at her
like,
go.
dang it, I didn't mean for you to yell at me.
I mean, this just like made me feel really uncomfortable, just like because girl drama is really uncomfortable. And like, you know how you would feel if you were Claire, because it's like, ooh, I got caught doing something like not great. And like now it's really hard to explain and I feel really awkward. So yeah, not
Especially
great.
when it's her true love. Like, oh no. Ugh. Meanwhile, poor Jamie tries to convince the fighting Highlanders not to engage in battle at Culloden. Good try, Jamie. When Claire visits Alex to check in on his health, she discovers Mary is pregnant with Alex's child. Alex is feeling all right enough to have a baby. I mean, that's
Yeah,
got
getting
something
it
going
on.
on.
I mean, you don't know. He probably like coughed all over her. He was probably like, it's so good, Mary. Freaking
Poor
A.
Mary had to be on top, man. Otherwise, I don't know if Alex could have handled it.
Yeah, no, Mary, a pro cowgirl.
Mm-hmm. She just
Handled
hopped right
it
on.
sublimely.
She's like, well, you can't do it. I can. So
She's a champ.
get it, Mary. Get it, Alex. Claire agrees to help Alex if Randall gives her intel on the British Army. And Alex and Claire convince Blackjack Randall, to marry Mary as Alex's dying wish. Elsewhere, a dying column asks Claire to help him die a painless death and confides in her that Gaelus's child is alive.
Dun,
It
dun,
turns out that
dun.
Gaelus wasn't burned after her baby was born.
I would hate waiting for that. That would be
Right.
awful.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can just see her two getting marched to the stake and be like, oh, I'm pregnant. You can't burn me. Ha ha. Like, I will escape later.
Totally.
Which she totally does. And the baby was adopted into the Mackenzie clan. That's kind of cool. Like, yay. At
Yeah.
least the baby is probably going to be fine.
Right.
Jamie tries to help the Highlander cause and avoid the Battle of Culloden altogether by striking preemptively against the British during the celebration of the Duke of Cumberland's birthday. Unfortunately, Marcus, the prince, gets lost, dashing those plans. Of course
Thanks.
he gets lost. He's like freaking Italian and French mostly. He's not English or Scottish.
This homie, he could not find his way out of a paper bag. I cannot with this man.
No. He'd only be okay like if a carriage was dragging him around a city. So of course he's going to get freaking lost. We also know that Claire knows that the day Blackjack Randall dies in battle is at Culloden.
So we have that to look forward to.
Yippee. Along with so many other deaths. Huzzah.
It's true.
Okay, so the final episode was really different. It like was a marked shift from the rest of the season. So for that episode, we're actually blasted back and forth between the present and the past, getting ever closer to the battle, which was like really intense anticipation because like we know what's going to happen ish. And like to just creep like that, it was not what I was expecting. So my anxiety was like, so we started actually in 1968 at Reverend Wakefield's funeral in Inverness. And there, Claire is reunited with a now grown Roger.
Yeah,
Roger.
he is.
Yeah. He's looking all right there. I don't know. He's okay, whatever.
He's cute, but he's no Jamie.
No one's Jamie.
No one is Jamie. And so Roger is Wakefield's adopted son, who we met in season 1 as like a little teeny tiny boy. And so cute. So we also meet Claire's daughter, Brianna. So then we're blasted back to the past, and Jamie is trying one desperate time to prevent the Battle of Culloden by talking to Prince Charles. Obviously, those efforts fail. And in the present day, Brianna and Roger grow closer, touring the countryside, as one does, while Claire once again tries to find out any information she can about Jamie Fraser through old documents. This is like totally that TLC show, Who Do You Think You Are, where they like go through ancestry.com.
Yes.
I love that show. So
Brandon
I loved
Whitfield
this part.
is ancestry.com.
Later, Brianna meets Jillian Edgars, right?
Who is she?
Right? Well, she looks very familiar because it's Galis Duncan.
Bum, bum, bum.
This
Such
was
a hippie.
crazy. This honestly, like my jaw dropped. Like we knew that Galis was from the future, present, whatever, but still to see her.
Yeah. Alive and well.
Yeah, that was wild. And she's performing duties as a Scottish independence activist. Then back in the past, again, we keep going back and forth. Jamie and Dougal fight, and Dougal is ultimately killed, which honestly, good riddance, my dude. Like, you were a dick. So
Yeah.
bye. In the future, Brianna gets closer to the truth about her mother and her true father, but refuses to believe that Claire time travel until she sees Galis go through the stones, which they try to prevent. And that's because Galis like killed her husband to go through.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is so committed to the cause and also maybe just also wanted to kill her husband. It's hard to-
Galis is an interesting character indeed.
She got some
Just don't
precious
marry
stones
her.
and
Yeah,
killed somebody. It's fine.
she's really rough, and she gets even rougher in season 3, honestly. But
Oh,
also,
no.
like this whole part, I was like really sympathetic to Brianna. Like poor Brianna has been lied to her whole life, and now her mom's like, "I'm a time traveler." Wouldn't you
She's
be
like-
like, "Mom, what are you smoking?" Like,
Yeah.
I'd
can't-
be concerned.
I don't feel bad for Brianna very often after this, so really enjoy this moment where I feel bad for Brianna. So then back in the past and before the battle, Jamie persuades Claire to take their unborn baby and herself back to the 1960s, and Claire agrees. This was heart-wrenching.
So sad.
So sad. And then season 2 closes out back in 1968 with Claire preparing herself to go back through the stones after Roger confides that Jamie is still alive.
Good job,
That-
Roger.
that gave me
We
a
don't
lot
get
of
to
hope.
say that very often either.
Yeah,
Well,
this is Roger's big moment. Next season, we are all out on Roger. Roger,
Well, I
can
guess.
go die.
Oh no, I'm so nervous.
It's fine. He's fine. He's just not Jamie. Which is not a very fair scale, but it's like,
No,
come on, Roger.
wait, hold on, Tio. He is more than just not Jamie. And we're going to talk more about this next season for sure. But the scene where they're like at that Scottish gathering and he is like almost slut shaming Brianna for like no reason. I'm like, get out of here with that shit, Roger. All this to say, this is the one time that Roger is like a cool dude and like actually very caring and lovely. And so good job, Roger, on this one time.
What is also cool about Roger is Roger and Brianna can hear the buzzing of the stones because Roger is Galis's descendant. So like all of them except for Jamie can hear the buzzing of the stones, which is really, really cool.
So at this time, and I'm trying to like think back where I was when I first watched this. Did you guys know that Roger and Brianna were going to go back through?
I
Mhm.
still don't know that, but now I do.
Poor Sarah.
Sarah, do you think that right now?
It wasn't in the outline.
Well, I would say because we see them hearing the buzzing, it primes the audience to expect it.
Yeah. Okay, can I ask like a really weird question that kind of goes back to season 1?
I only want you to ask weird questions.
Okay, great.
Please
'Cause that's
begin.
the only kind I have. So.
Good.
Okay, so remember season 1, I think it's episode 1. We don't, but Frank sees like a Highlander shadow man. Like
I
in
was
the
just gonna ask this. Yes, go.
Okay,
Flo.
this has not been answered in the show, and I have not read the books. Obviously, Colleen has, and Colleen has a very sneaky look on her face
I
right now.
haven't read all of them.
Okay.
We're going to have to ask Sloan. Sloan has read all.
Okay, friend of the pod, Sloan, if you could just comment in the comments, that'd be really helpful to explain this to me. Jamie.
I think it's Jamie.
Okay, so obviously I do too, and I think we're primed to think that is Jamie, right? Because like Frank feels really weird about it. He's like obviously staring at Claire, but Jamie can't hear the buzzing.
Hear the buzzing. Yes, right.
Yeah. So
Right.
he would have maybe been dragged through by somebody, but
How? How could you be dragged through without being able to hear the buzzing? Where's the
guess-
precedent for that?
I guess it would be like side-along apparition from Harry Potter.
Okay, but like
Would be my only guess, I guess,
if
but
they
I don't
could
know.
do that, first of all, who would have done that? Because that happens before Claire goes through. So
Right.
it probably was not Claire. And if that is possible, then why didn't Claire just drag him along out of Culloden?
Right.
Right.
So
Well,
I don't know if he would have gone.
I feel like he would have
She
gone.
thought it might kill the baby too. She wasn't sure.
Yeah, but I feel like he would have gone just to be with Brianna because he really loves
possible.
Brianna.
Yes.
So
It
I
makes
feel like
me very nervous that Claire dies before Jamie, like before Jamie in the back time,
Right.
so that he goes through with either Brianna or Roger or somebody else that can go through and sees her at that moment. That would be my only guess, but I don't know because the
That part
timelines
doesn't-
and the stones seem to work strangely.
right, because I mean, if we can see Galus when she's alive after she's died, we can. Well, wait, that I guess I don't know something that you two know, but like my rationale is if you can see Galus even
right,
though
Galus
she's
died
died,
in the past, right?
right, but we can still see her. I would say that the same logic applies moving like way back to season 1, episode 1. Of course, you think that that's Jamie, but I'm not convinced that's Jamie because he can't hear the buzzing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've
yeah.
always wondered that, and that still has not been answered. So I wanted to pose it now while we're
Yeah.
talking about the buzzing.
Another thing that Sloane pointed out that she thought was amusing was that Jamie knows that Claire is pregnant before she is, and it's like, no, that's not gonna happen.
So
Well, hold on. Jamie keeps track of Claire's menstruation cycle, so he apparently knows when she's pregnant. Like
Like the
that
one
is-
man in the world that does that.
Yeah,
Just
that
seems
is
very
wild.
strange.
I mean,
It's like, good job, Jamie.
the only explanation I would have for this, well, first of all, I definitely knew that Claire was pregnant before she knew she was pregnant because she's like throwing up everywhere, and I'm like, this is very obvious, Claire. Okay,
Come on, nurse.
You're a nurse. Let's go. The only reason I could think of would be like if Jamie doesn't want to knock her up right now because of her like recent loss. Although
family
I don't know
planning
what he
thing.
would know about that. So if they were doing like the timing method or whatever,
Right.
Natural family planning.
hey kids, wear condoms if you don't want to get pregnant.
Why don't we move to things that we should also watch and listen for?
Ooh, is that Brendan the Blackfish? Woo!
Yeah.
Yes, it's another Tully from Game of Thrones. He joins Tobias Menzies in the cast, and they're both Tully's Edmure and Brendan the Blackfish Tully
Yeah.
on that show. Clive Russell is the actor. He plays the shrewd and calculating Lord Lovett.
That guy was a dick too.
Yes. Mm.
Wow.
He's got some issues.
I like
Yeah.
couldn't even really follow all of the situations with his like marriages and him just like screwing people and all the bastards. He like more reminded me of like Walder Frey from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
For sure. And a total disregard for women.
Oh, I mean, when he is like beating his seer, it was just like, what is wrong with you?
The one
Yeah.
time
Also-
or 2 times I feel bad for Leary is when he touched her, and I was like, "Don't touch Leary. We hate her, but don't
For
touch
sure.
her."
Yeah, we may hate Leary, but we're not here for like abuse
That,
of any
yeah.
sort. For sure. Also, that scene with the seer or whatever, that really reminded me of Game of Thrones as well, when there's that like witch lady with the Dothraki, and then there's all like the dark magic stuff. And I was like, what is she about to make happen? But then she didn't, so it was fine.
Alas.
That was kind of a letdown. Sarah, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so Claire, it looks like Saint Germain wasn't the one who tried to kill you that time, but too bad her necklace changes and Saint Germain goes down. Sorry about that, home slice. Too bad, so sad.
This
I
whole
mean-
time, Claire, you thought it was him, but it was not.
I mean, he was still a dick, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
completely. Even the Duke of Sandringham's like, "Yeah, he sucked. I'm glad that you killed him."
And then finally, the
man.
last thing to watch for in this is the title of the season finale, which is Dragonfly in Amber. And that is the title of the second book in the series. And it refers to the like little keepsake that they have that is found at Culloden, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Claire says this too in a direct line in the episode, a dragonfly caught in amber, which
Yep.
is like Claire, very much a person caught in one moment in time that she just wants to change that. That's
Right.
heading into season 3, though.
Yeah, I love that
She
She breaks
symbolism.
the amber and escapes like a beautiful dragonfly butterfly.
Moving
Yay!
past symbolism, though, how historically accurate, and I love this segment of our show, is Outlander? Like, Colleen, tell us about this Bonnie Prince Charles. Who is he? What is his
Ooh.
claim to the throne? What is going on with this guy? Because he is effing it up, and I certainly don't want him to be king of anything.
No, he certainly wants to be, but no.
No.
I mean, just all over Europe, the monarchy system was all kinds of messed up because they're all interbred with each other. And it's just crazy how the kind of line of succession goes. So Charles Stuart is the son of James Stuart. He can trace his lineage back to Mary, Queen of Scots, hence the French connections there. Her son was King James I, who was King of England and the British Isles, because Elizabeth, the great Ginger queen, who never married, had no children, so she had no heirs, and there were no other viable Tudor heirs.
Mhm.
So we call upon the House of Stuart, who Mary's kid is like, I can be king. He was very young when he became king. He's like, oh, this little guy. So, however, the Act of Settlement of 1701, this is just not great, guys, stated that only Protestants could inherit the crown.
Rude.
So the Catholic-leaning Stuarts were booted from the line of succession. Queen Anne, who was a Protestant and a Stuart, was the last Stuart to reign before her death in 1714. And then they were like, oh no, there are no Stuarts left. What do we do? And James and frickin' Charles over here like, what? We're Stuarts, but they were Catholics, so they couldn't rule. Instead, they chose the House of Hanover, which is not a British house. They're just
Wild.
tangentially related somehow to the British line of succession. So they came over from Hanover, which is kind of like Prussia. Charles and his father spent the years attempting to regain their quote-unquote rightful place as the British monarchs against the Hanoverian kings George I and George II. Interestingly enough, George III is the Mad King George, who was king during the American Revolution.
What's a little bit crazy in all of this too is that there had just been a Catholic monarch, because Queen Mary, Bloody Mary,
Right.
Queen Elizabeth's
Was
sister,
Catholic.
who was queen just before Elizabeth, was very, very Catholic
Mm-hmm.
from
Did
the
you ever-
Spanish throne.
Did you ladies ever do that Bloody Mary thing in the mirror
yeah.
back when you were younger? Yeah.
Scared
I,
the
like,
crap out of
Walk
ourselves.
out of my bed to the downstairs bathroom. I was scared shitless.
And it all hails back to Queen Mary, which is wild.
Well, she killed a
Wild.
lot of Protestants.
Yeah,
Yes,
Mary
she
was not
did.
a cool lady.
And then
No.
Elizabeth killed Mary, Queen of Scots. So there's blood about the
Her
Protestant
cousins.
Catholic stuff all over the British monarchy. It's like,
I love it. Everybody should go watch The Tudors. It's so good.
Flo, do you want to take the next point?
Sure. So the members of Jamie's section of the army at Prestonpans aren't the imagined idea of a Highlander army. They're mostly poor farmers and tenants loyal to Colin Mackenzie. And you can see some of them carrying farming equipment as weapons, which was like really sad. Honestly, it's like you're going against an actual army with like cannons and stuff, and like you're here with like your pitchfork. That was
Literally, yeah.
literally. So they didn't own weapons, obviously. The fancy broadswords and guns were for richer men of the clan. However, there weren't a lot of shields, targes.
there weren't a lot of them shown on the show, and these people would have had those.
Got it. Even like the poor people?
They would have made at least something because of the bayonet charge of the British soldiers.
Yeah, that makes sense. Bayonets suck. Like, those were not good. Let's not have those anymore.
This one's super duper sad. As was kind of being anticipated, after the Battle of Culloden, the Duke of Cumberland and the British Army basically destroyed the clan system. Tartans were banished, as was the wearing of kilts, playing bagpipes, speaking Gaelic, and meeting for those classic Highland games. So sad. Much clan land was confiscated and the Highlands were ravaged. Thousands were forced to immigrate, and there's still a sizable group of Scottish descendants in Canada. Oh, Canada.
Lots of them in Canada.
Wild.
And we get to see a lot of Scottish descendants in season 3 when Brianna and Roger go to the Highland Games.
Yes.
Yay!
Where they can have the games.
That's right.
The Bonnie Prince is not there to free Scotland, y'all. The nobility of the Scottish Highlanders probably knew this, but the men don't. They're like, oh, yay, we're going to be free. Yay. Or at least we're going to have a king who respects us.
Right.
Prince Charles's focus is on capturing the British crown in London. He doesn't really care too much about the Highlanders, which is why the March on London was so important. It's debatable whether the Scottish troops could have captured London. There's a chance that they could have. They were only a couple days away, but they'd been marching south and like engaging in military campaigning for months at this time, so they were exhausted. Their supplies were very low. The prospect of being surrounded on 3 sides, just like the 2 kind of generals that were arguing back and forth, the Irish general O'Sullivan and then the other guy Murray, who were fighting like, but there's armies and we don't know where they are. So they were like, we're outnumbered, we need to retreat back to Scotland. And then Charles also hadn't received the support from the English Jacobites that he thought he would find in kind of northern England, in the lowlands area also. And the French did not show up.
Sorry, we were busy.
The French were very busy.
Well, what can I say? Hey, we helped the Americans, so you're welcome. We're doing what
we are very grateful for that.
Yeah, so we were just saving it up. Okay, so let's talk about Culloden really quickly. So one of the main reasons the Jacobite army was crushed at this battle was the terrain. And we saw this in the show. The Highland Charge, basically a battlefield shock tactic, was disrupted by the boggy ground. It was just like straight up mud. It was nasty. The charge was also disorganized, with many Highlanders not using their muskets. It's like, you have one.
Use it.
What are you doing? And the British forces had been allowed to set up artillery, which devastated the charging Scots, who they had nothing.
And they tried really hard. I actually got to go to Culloden with my mom when I lived in Scotland. And I was very excited to go there because I had read Outlander and I was like, oh, yay, we're going to go see this battlefield. We got there and it's one of those kind of dead places where you can feel this very dark, heavy sense like kind of fall over you. My mom was really uncomfortable too. You got to walk around the field. We found the gravestone that is for Clan Fraser and it had a lot of flowers by it, which was really cute. But the terrain is horrible. There are parts where you can't go because they've kept it how it was. And it's just full of reeds and thistles and very pokey plants that are very thick. Like there's no way a horse can't even get through it, let alone a dude.
Whoa.
So it was really intense land, intense ground. It felt really icky. Like it was very interesting. I'm very glad we went. We didn't get enough time there. There was so much historical stuff to set up in their museum and stuff that I would have killed to spend hours there. But just going out and walking in that field was insane. It was like you could just feel the weight of all of the fear and terror kind of pressing in on you. And just like the whole, oh, we are going to be defeated and now our entire culture is going to be ransacked because of this. So it's very cool. Tell everyone to go there because it is very interesting.
Remind me, do we see the aftermath of Culloden in this season or in the next season?
It's probably the next season.
Because that was very shocking. And you really see the terrain in that when Jamie is like fighting for his life at Culloden. Mm-hmm. That was very intense. So I can only imagine that going someplace like that. It's kind of like when you go to like Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Or just like other big military fields where it's just like, wow, a lot of people lost, like a lot of families were lost here.
Yes, like entire clans were wiped out.
So that's very sad, but I'm so glad you got to go. That sounds really, really cool.
It was really cool. It just was like, whoo, that was a long bus ride back to our next stop. We were all very drained. Like everybody came back and we were quiet, like the entire bus.
Wow.
Which had been really loud and kind of boisterous at first when we got there. We all got back and we were all just very quiet. And the guide said, it's all right. This is normal. Jeez.
Well, post-COVID, BGS Ladies trip to Scotland.
Traveling.
Let's go.
Yeah, we can go to Inverness. It's a much happier place.
Okay, let's do it.
Perfect. And I think that's where we'll leave it today. Thank you so much for being with us, and come back next time when we continue exploring Outlander and other geeky goodies. Just as a heads up, we are taking a break for the holidays. Ladies, can you remind us, when are we coming back with the next episode? It's not until January 17th, I think, is our next one.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Yep.
So stay tuned. Get relaxed, enjoy our other series exploring The Mandalorian in the meantime. And remember, you can enjoy us in our podcast and YouTube format. Either way, please subscribe and leave those 5-star reviews. Check out our website at Bohemian Geek Studies, where you can watch all of our episodes, enjoy Colleen's book corner where she's reviewing Star Wars literature, and contact us through email and social media. Until next time, raise Jamie Fraser's saber up and keep those episodes streaming. Bye, everyone.